Hey everyone, I'm here with Jennifer, and I'm going to have her share their experience getting funding and basically what the process looked like. Jennifer is a real estate investor in Sub 2, but I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Saletto. I've been a licensed realtor since 2001, and I'm licensed in Nevada and California at the moment. And I work for a company that also has REOs or bank-owned properties that they, I guess, give to the listing agents to list the bank-owned properties. And so the last 3 years, I have been investing mainly in REOs because I figured since I'm listing these properties, I might as well buy it because I did see that they were selling it for a lot uh, discounted, prices. And so, and it's true because I am in this industry, I do know how to buy these properties, sometimes 30 to 40 cents on the dollar. So it's been great. And because I have my foot in the door, I have some advantage to other investors and knowing what the bank wants for it. So that's pretty much what I've been focusing on is I want to become an investor and not a real estate agent anymore. And if anybody's listening to this video and you're a realtor, honestly, think about being in a profession that you work and work and maybe 30 days, 60 days, and then the client says, hey, I changed my mind or I gotta do what's best for my family. And then they just don't close with you and then you don't get paid. So, you need to buy some real estate and have some passive income. So that's kind of what I've been doing and showing other people how to do it as well, but just creating some cash flow so that I can retire and live off of this income. We're not being such transactional, doing so many transactional deals. And as you know, being a realtor is up and down, up and down. It's just, very stressful. So there's another better way to be able to just, create some wealth. And honestly, I tell people buy a property and hold on to it and then give it to your child when they turn 18 and then and that's money for them and they can figure out what to do with it. Anyway, that's not me in a nutshell.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that, Jennifer. And basically, she came to me because she needed funding. This is Trade Line Secrets, and Um, yeah, that's why think she saw a post or something like that. But I'm just gonna ask you a couple questions about your
Mhm.
whole experience. And really, my first question is, before we started working together, where were you at with your business funding situation?
Um, like most people, I needed money to buy real estate. So I first started with getting personal credit cards at 0%. And as soon as I got them, I found out about business credit. And so it took me a year and a half, 2 years to pay down these credit cards. But I did buy property and I bought these bank-owned properties. And I bought it in a state that was relatively still very low, 50, 60,000. And I used these credit cards, the personal ones. But I realized that once you maximize these cards out, it dropped your credit score down. So after I paid down or paid off the personal credit cards, my score did go up. And then I went and at a meeting, at a real estate meeting here locally, I thought because I met someone in person that, okay, that they're good. They were pitching business credit and it was like $3,000. And then they were going to create an LLC for me and do all the naming, get me a Paydex score and a Dun and Bradstreet. And I was fine with that. And I said, hey, I don't have time, so I'm paying someone else to do this for me. And that was like in February of 2025 or 24, actually, I can't remember. And
Mhm.
it took so long. And then the guy that did the presentation literally said he wasn't any longer affiliated with this company like after a month. And then I was dealing with his partner who never picked up the phone to talk to me and did everything via email. And finally, I was like, hey, I'm ready to fund this. What's going on? And he would mail out the letters, and it was just like so slow. Okay. And I needed
Oh,
funding. So at that point, that's where I was at. And that's kind of how David came into the picture. And I saw his post on sub two. And so basically I sent an email and text back to the other company that I was working with. And I said, look, man, if you're not gonna respond to me, because it was December of 2025 and I didn't get a response back. So I said, if you're not gonna respond to me, I'm gonna go somewhere else to get some help, and all that was left for this company was to get me cards,
right.
and so after he and then I get an email like a month and a half later saying, okay, we're going to cancel our relationship because you said you were going to go somewhere else. I was like, I was going to go somewhere else because you just needed to respond to me. So I think he used that as a way to get out, and not do the fit complete. But, he already got my 3,000 bucks, so that's kind of where I was at. And I
I
read
see.
what I did was I researched you, David, and I went and put your name in and I read all your posts and what you wrote and see if you knew what the hell you were talking about, and it seemed like you did. So I do a little research that way to see.
Right.
So that's kind of how then I reached out to you. So that's where we're at.
Cool. And that you kind of answered my second question, which was, had you tried to get funding before, like on your own or through someone else? And you kind of already answered that. And I guess my follow-up though is, what made you decide to work with me instead of trying to figure it out on like all by yourself?
I could do anything by myself. I just don't have time. YouTube University is out there
Hmm.
and you could learn anything, but I'm at the point where my specialty is buying bank-owned properties from the bank. That's what I know. I do that day in and day out.
Right.
I don't do credit. I mean, I know about it. I've done it before. So I guess what's kind of good is that because I've done it before, I know when someone is lying or just being, trying. You just been through enough stuff that you know who can and can't do it. And my time is better spent doing something I know and leaving something else to someone else to do that is their specialty. That's the word.
Right.
So that's why time is money, and I don't have this time. My hand is in deals,
Mm.
finding, other deals, and I have a lot of other things that I need to do. And yeah, I just don't have time to do this. And David has been doing this for a long time. So knowing where to go is very important, and you don't get that from videos and stuff like that. No one's going to give that whole secret away, just like me. I don't just give all my secrets away either. I mean, it's on the videos. If you want to watch, you can see it. But most people don't watch things, and there's
Yeah.
very little people who do things, like they're just consumers, like we call it, right? And if you want to get things done, pay for it, pay for someone else's time that has gone through it, and you'll get there much faster. Just like you need a team to get somewhere much faster. Can I repair and renovate a house myself? Yes, but can I do it well? No. And you need, trial and error multiple times. And I figured David knew how or where to go, which, because there's such a what's the word to use, like he knows where, who, when, what, and stacking stuff. I didn't realize, it's because your credit score is more than just a score. And, based on even though I have David working on it, I like to understand why. So there's a behavior model too. They look at behavior. Do you pay on time? Do you do that? So it's not just a score, right? And so just stay in your own lane and it's worth it to pay for someone else. It's a tax write-off too and stuff like that. So it's well worth the time to save money. You can save money doing it yourself, but then you also could lose money by doing it yourself. So
Yeah.
then you're like, do you go forward or you go backwards? You know what I mean? Just like anybody can buy and fix and flip a house, but oh, if you make that one mistake, you just
Yeah.
lost money, which you tried to save. So that's really what you have to think about. And I know some people go, well, I don't have the money to do it right now. And that is just, you know what? And another thing, go and ask ChatGPT or Claude, what is the best route? And they will tell you after you put in all your scenario. I think that's right now. If you don't utilize AI, then you're missing out. You know what I mean? That's like
Mhm.
your answer. You want an answer? It's right there. It'll come back and give you an answer immediately instead of trying to go on the internet and add stuff to, hey people, can you help me with this? When I see people start asking these questions, I'm just laughing because I was like, you can get a quicker answer or just search your question, and I'm sure a gazillion other people ask the same question already. So just
Yeah.
being resourceful is the key.
No, absolutely. I appreciate that. I guess walk us through what the process looked like from the time we started to when you actually got funded. I guess what happened.
So because I'm the way I am, I think I came to David much prepared and organized, so he didn't really have to do much with me. Like I came with, here's my score. I'm in this industry. My husband is also a mortgage lender. So, I had created an account with the three credit bureaus already, so I can log in. I was tracking my credit score. I put a freeze so nobody would, look, and so my scores would not, be touched. And so I think I got to David. I'm like, okay, David, I paid all these credit cards down. So he did ask for uh like you go to those websites, Smart Credit, and I think David even had one that he sent to me later and it was free. I had to pay for mine, but the one he has is free. You pull your credit, you send it to David, and then I think I made up an appointment, he scheduled, and I don't know, David, if I sent it to my report to you before or after our first initial call. Do you remember?
It might
How
have
did you
been
do it?
before.
So once we got on the call, you already looked at my credit and says, "Hey, you're a great candidate," or something like that. Oh, I think
Yeah.
what happened was I got on the call with you and I had TransUnion. I was 797, but then when I spoke to you, I had to use my one of my cards to pay a contractor bill, and then it unfortunately, it was my personal one of my personal credit cards, and I used 50% of it, and I dropped from 797 to 697 because I went 50%. So then we had to wait 1 month for me to pay it down, and then I brought my score back up, and then that's when we started for funding, right? Once I had to bring my score back up.
Yeah.
So I think, I knew what I was doing, and I got you gave me an option actually at the time, which was either you could do it for me or I could do it myself. And I chose to do it myself because I just had to remove some hard inquiries. And then you showed me how to do it. You gave me documentation and what to do. And I did it. And then I brought my scores up. And then once I did that in 30 days, we sat on a Zoom call together and you helped me go through each application to apply. And one of them was an immediate, here's your approval. And the other two, one was Chase Inc. business, and then the other two. And so we strictly went, and he told me what bureau we were going to run because my score was high, and then we would go after and apply for those credit cards. And I did notice that I got my card within a week, and I was like shocked because when I went with the other company on my personal, because they did have all my information, they applied for me on their own, and then it took at least 2 weeks, and then I had to call back these companies, and I guess they want to verify you still that it's you who applied sometimes, so you don't get
Yeah.
instant approvals. But obviously, with David being on the webinar with me and he could see my screen, it was much faster to be able to apply and know you get the approval. And therefore, I got my card in 1 week from the bank. So that's how fast we were rolling with this one. So,
Nice. Yeah, for sure. And how much funding were you able to access so far and at what terms?
so the initial first call, I think we got 55,000 in business credit from three different cards, and they were 0%. And this is through my business LLC that was specifically created to go after business credit. And this was the last company that I used. So I mean, I still got something out of it. And so yeah, that's what it was. Just 0%, either 12 months promotion.
Yeah.
I think one was 6 months, something like that. So it varies. But for me, it was much needed since I use these cards for my purchasing real estate and then renovating properties as well.
Exactly. And I believe it was a Wyoming LLC as well. And
Mhm.
just due to the nature of the situation, we just moved with speed, I remember. But regardless, we're gonna scale that up, and then I'm helping your partner and anyone else that you have in mind. So yeah, it's a good first round. And I know, and then how long did the whole process take from like start to finish?
What do you mean? Like when we did the first round?
Yeah, like the whole process. How long did it take about?
Mm, well, see, like I said, if you're fast and good like me, that still took a 30-day because of the credit drop, right?
Mhm.
And so then we started attacking each um, bureau. So the first round we did TransUnion only. You know, I got the cards, and then again, after you do that, you got to go remove your increase, and then we
Yeah.
went to Experian, and then a few smaller credit cards. And so, I think each time you do this, you find something. And my issue was because I live in Nevada or Las Vegas, Nevada. The the LLC was formed in Wyoming,
Mhm.
and some of these banks didn't like that, right? What you told me is
Yeah.
because I didn't file a foreign entity in Nevada. So then some of we these credit cards were much smaller balances or credit limits, like 3,000. So I since then I did form the LLC as a foreign entity in Nevada. So it's a constant juggling act, I guess. You don't just go for one round. You have to like improvise and problem solve. And so now it's like, okay, but I have since gotten my scores up to 800. Okay,
Yeah.
but like I said, it's called a juggling act. You apply, you remove. You apply, you remove. But
Yeah,
the
exactly.
the great thing about this is that once you use these cards, it doesn't show up on your personal anymore. My scores will always stay high. So I will
Mhm.
never have a need to, I still use my personal credit because I don't want to leave it at zero. So I learned too that you use it maybe $50, you pay down to 20 because you want to show that still active and it stays high. So it could just keep on going that you use these cards. But in the meantime, you're actually leveraging the business credit
Mhm.
and utilizing that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think we're on like I don't know what round we're in, but it's a process. Nothing
Yeah.
happens immediately.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
first
it
one
happens
probably was like,
immediately.
yeah, it was about maybe 45 days the first round, but then like I think you kind of understand the longer term is like I can scale people up. So there's that. And I guess just overall, was there anything that surprised you about how it worked? Something you didn't expect?
Um, I don't know. I just find that, even when I had the personal credit, I was just like, oh, this is juggling. You have to have your spreadsheet. You have to be on top of things. This is not set it and forget it. You have to be actively paying attention and monitoring your credit, when to pay, the closing. Well, obviously on personal, you have to pay attention to the closing date, not the
Mhm.
due date. So you actually have to understand how credit works. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, the way I look at this now is I'm like, wow, this is a game. Like you go pull, you go remove. Wait a week or two. You go pull, hurry, go back, send letters, remove, right? So
Mhm.
David will give you, I mean, I guess you could just pay David. He could do everything. I mean, that's always an option, just like me. You could pay someone and they do everything for you and you don't learn, or he will teach you how to do it and then you do it yourself. But you still need David's knowledge of what banks to go to. And if he's done it for himself, and he's working with other people and he knows which banks to go to because guidelines change all day long. And I give feedback to David when I say, look, that one wants a 2 year uh, LLC formation. That bank wants a relationship. I give him feedback just like other people give him feedback. So that's something you can't do on your own and you won't ever know because you're only working on yourself, right? But if David has hundreds of other people he's working with, he has that knowledge and so he can underwrite and stuff like that. And that's what you pay him for. It's definitely worth it, because for me, I'm buying assets that I hold, which would generate me more money down the road. So it's important for me to get this access to the funding that I need.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. And I guess was there a point where you had doubts or felt it wasn't going to come through?
It's not that I have doubts. I had some disappointments because I didn't get higher credit limits, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Hey, if I have 800 FICOs, well, and I don't want to use the word FICO anymore because that just changed too with what the government just did. So if my scores are at 800 right now, um, I don't think that's a bad thing, but we just have to figure out what banks will, and we try other stuff. I just don't give up. You know what I mean? And I just pester David. I was just like, look, man, get me something, or help my partner here, or I I think David knows what he's doing, and he's a busy guy, just like me too. But just show your appreciation, help him out so he can help you out. That's just how business works, I guess, and have forming relationships with other people.
Yeah, for sure. And a big portion was because of the Wyoming company. That's fine though. Where I've already have other plans for like all our future endeavors. And I guess, well, I already know what you're doing with it, but just so that others can know, I guess, what are you doing with the funding now and how are you putting it to work?
So I buy real estate in the Midwest, and because these are bank-owned properties, the purchase, like I buy small enough that if I can get funding for 150,000, 200,000, I literally can buy a property outright, liquidate these cards, pay it in cash, take the money. Uh, each time I have to go get a hard money loan, even though, 60,000, and then the bank gives me draws for the renovation, I could be at 120,000. So even at 120,000 purchase and renovation, the hard money lender charges about, I've done this like, 15 times. So it cost me about $8,000 in my profit. So if I can get the funding from David and it's at 0%, I just saved myself $8,000, if that makes sense, right? Every time I buy, that's my profit. And the contractors that I have, I've worked with them already. We've done like 10 deals. I am literally purchased and refinance and pull my cash out by 90 days. So a lot of these credit cards are 0%, anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, right? So you're literally paying 0%. So understanding this and then not having to go to hard money lenders or families and all that. So you've saved yourself in all the interest, points and fees from a hard money lender. So it, that's when I was talking to my husband, even pulling out a line of equity and all that. The business credit is so huge that it just opens so much more doors for you. He can help you clean your credit and you get going. You can, anywhere you go. I mean, I eventually will refinance this into a long-term 30-year fixed mortgage, right? But I'm eliminating the hard money part first to pay the other things. So that is what I'm doing right now. That was the objective from day one, to get business funding. And before that, as a real estate agent, I never knew that this was around. Like nobody tells you about business credit. I mean, I knew about personal, and personal still was good because I paid 0% interest, but it affected my score every time I liquidated the credit card. So hopefully if someone found this, you've got good credit, go after the business credit. It's not any much more work um, doing it this way versus going to your personal.
Okay.
Just a,
So
yeah.
it's about the same amount of work. Okay, cool. I guess a lot of people hear about the 0% business credit or credit stacking, and they think it sounds too good to be true. What do you say to that?
I mean, you have to make a call or, even before if you want to speak to David, it's all over the YouTube. Um, I watch so much YouTube, I save in different folders and I try to just get a broad understanding of what's going on. Reach out to other people and see if they've ever done it before. And, it's just like anything, not everybody knows what it is or heard of it. That doesn't make it illegal. I know some people, I hate the people who
Mhm.
don't understand it and then they say it's a scam, yeah, I'll use an example. I have a listing that I'm doing midterm rentals on my property and I put it on Facebook Marketplace. And I said, I'm sorry, I was trying to sell it. And then
Right.
I said, you can't view the property without an offer, right? And someone goes, oh, this must be a scam. I have to make an offer. I'm like, yeah, on investment properties, you do. I'm selling it as an investment. You need to make an offer so that you show you're a serious buyer before I let you in because I have tenants. And then I also, rent it for really high. So people just think because they don't know, this is small-minded people, people who don't know assume things are scam. So
Mhm.
do your research. That's all it is. Do your research. Ask the other people. And like I said, if you are in sub two or any group where David is at, put his name in, search his post, read it, see if it makes sense, Does he know what he's talking about? Go ask other people who for testimonials and stuff like that. And this is anything in life, right? You research that person and you could find them on the internet.
I see.
So
So it seems to me like it's more about the person then. It's not so much the information as well.
yeah, well, yes,
Good
I'm
mixture.
not that young, but I've been scammed before. And sometimes you have to, so if everything else checks out, then
Mhm.
you proceed and you give that person a chance. So far, my vibe from David is that he talks straight, I don't have a bad feeling with him. And so far, he's performed and has done what he said he would do. And I use myself as a guinea pig. And once he has done what he says he's done, then I go and I refer him to other people. And the feedback I have gotten from someone else is that, yeah, he seems to be straight up. He says what he's going to do, and I think one of the other key is communication, right? People being responsive. And even if they can't talk to you, they respond to you and say, hey, I'm busy, but let's get together, And so I think communication is the key, when you're working with someone. And so yeah, but it's hard. Everybody out there right now is there's so many scammers, I guess. So
Yeah, there's interesting individuals for sure. So then you kind of answered my follow-up, which was like how it's like working with me,
mhm.
But the communication piece you kind of touched on. Is there anything else you want to add as far as like how the communication was? Because I know you had communication problems at the beginning with the other company,
Mhm.
but I guess compared to how I do communication, how was it?
Well, it's good because David, if you do your initial call, it's a Zoom, and so he records everything. So if you forget,
Hmm.
he has it in recording, and then he shares it with you what you discuss. And I'm just super busy too that I haven't even had a chance to watch the Zoom. But it's like I rely on him to remind me, and sometimes I remind him. We're two business people trying to run a business, use AI and everything. So, I haven't had any issues with you. I think everything's been great. So that's why
Cool. Okay,
I'm
awesome.
referring more people to you because there's a value add to this for both of us.
No, absolutely, yeah. you do the bank REOs and I do the funding. And I guess like if you could go back and talk to yourself before you got funded, what would you tell
Mhm.
yourself?
Well, fund it through you. I mean, like I said, I wish I knew about the business credit way before I did the personal, because that took me back 2 years of having to, because no, I take it back. I wish I had met you then, because I could have removed those freaking hard inquiries at that point. Because as soon as I got it from the other guy that I paid $3,000 for personal credit, he was like, "Well, you got to wait for 2 years so those hard inquiries will fall off." And which I did, but now I know you don't need to. And I didn't have to go and use those credit cards. I could have just had all those hard inquiries wiped off and just not use the cards and went straight to business credit. So just so you know, you don't have to wait. But yes, now I'm thinking about it. I did wait and I didn't, because those hard inquiries could have been removed.
Yeah.
What you don't know, you don't know. So,
Yeah, it's all right. I guess what's your advice to someone sitting on the fence right now thinking about whether this is worth it?
well, what do you have to lose, really? You're either going to do, most people analyze and analyze, and they call that analysis paralysis. I, I'm experienced, meaning I'm a realtor. I'm experienced in my field, and I still have to do it,
Mhm.
because you don't learn unless you do. You can never learn enough to know, and memory doesn't sink in until you do it, if that makes sense, right? So, for example, I bought these properties and my exit strategy was to make them into a midterm rental. But now I've decided, nah, I don't like it. And there's no way for me to have known unless I, I wouldn't know it until I did it, if that makes sense. And I went through like 10 properties. Now I know, oh, I actually don't want to do this. I have another exit strategy. So if you're on the fence, I mean, you have nothing to lose. If you have access, if you go with David, you get these credit cards at 0%. Well, then if you don't want to do anything, then you don't do it. But there's a reason you want to get this credit. You don't go to David because you just go there. You need it for something. You need him, or you need the funding to do something with it. I guess. Does that make sense? You're
Mhm.
gonna pay. There's no free stuff. Like you asked me, should I do this on my own? Some people always say I could do it on my own, and then I explain, but is this your expertise? Or do you have a job? You do something, why are you wanting to do it yourself to save money? So that's what you have to ask yourself. How important is your time? Is your time better somewhere else than hiring someone else to do it? Could you mow the lawn? Yes. But do you have a couple of hours to do it? Maybe. Or someone who knows a faster way to do it that can get you where you want faster. So that's really what you have to ask yourself. How, how important, or how expensive is your time to yourself? Maybe you want to spend your time with your family and kids. You know what I mean? So it's just really,
Yeah.
you have to evaluate that, and if it's worth it, and what is your end goal?
Yeah.
Where are you trying to get with this business funding? My goal was to retire in 5 years. So I got like 2 years left. My husband's like, when are you going to retire us? I'm like, I'm working on it. It started because he told me go find my own money to go buy these properties. So I said, okay, I'll figure it out. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And now that I'm here, I'm like, this is insane. This
Mhm.
is insane that you could get this credit for 0%. And if you're not doing it, then something is wrong with you. I mean, we're not cheating anything. This is offered to people with good credit. Just say, the people who can't get this usually are the people who have bad credit. So if you have good credit, there's no reason why you should not. But just don't go and buy stuff to have stuff. Buy stuff to create, you get an asset, depreciation, and all this other stuff, and then you'll pay it off. So it's just like, why shouldn't you be doing this? It should be the question to
Right.
ask yourself.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I
Mhm.
guess just to finalize everything, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, here's a plug for me. If you guys get funding from David, don't know where to go. Here's what I'll add is just start small because I see a lot of people go, they live on the West Coast, California, Nevada. That's where I live. But I go buy something small because I've lost properties back in the great financial crisis, and I didn't have YouTube back then. But you start small because the starting small is just so you can understand, learn, figure out what to do, what to do. I started small so that if I lost money, it wouldn't and it wouldn't hurt me financially, but I kept doing it over and over so I can get better at it. So like anything, repetition makes you stronger and better.
Yeah.
So, if you were looking to invest in real estate, then come talk to me. I do teach this and how to buy bank-owned properties, but they're going to cash flow and everything because you make your money on your buy. So
Mhm.
real estate is the best thing to get into because you can leverage, right? You can put a small down payment and then you can go get a loan for the 80% of the rest, right? So that's what yeah, I mean,
And
obviously
you have
you're getting,
a whole strategy around that, right? With the credit cards, like the bank, the REOs and the credit cards, right?
I mean, are you saying how to liquidate and get the
No, I'm
money
saying
out to
like
use?
you've done that though, right? And that's like what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, well, I started off with the personal credit. I was able to liquidate the cards. So
Mhm.
I didn't know this either, but before, I thought you can only do balance transfers. Well, that's what the stupid credit cards tell you. They didn't, there's ways to liquidate these cards into cash because you can't go and pay the bank. Hey, I like to use my credit card to put it as a down payment, right? So you're not going to be able to do that. You need to liquidate these cards and then you get the cash in your bank account. And then when you go and buy the property, the money is in your bank account. And then that is the down payment you use to pay to purchase the property. Now, when you pay your contractors to do the renovations, you could, they have, sometimes they use QuickBooks and stuff. You can pay directly to them for the
Mhm.
renovations with the credit card. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's usually a 2.9% charge to use a credit card. But hey, 2.9 is
Yeah.
better than the hard money. So yes, this is what, and so I'm trying to say is that many people, depending on where you live, have no idea that there are states that still sell homes under $100,000. I mean, under 150,000, but bank-owned properties, if you're buying in that state that the houses are, 3-1 for 150,000, and I'll use the Midwest meaning Indiana, that's where I'm at in southern Indiana, Alabama, Ohio. Those states still have homes that are under 150,000.
Mhm.
So if you buy a bank-owned property, here's a little tip because I have videos like this. If you buy properties that were before 2020, which is during COVID, everything after COVID went crazy. As you all know, home prices went really high. But I go after properties where homeowners bought it before 2020 because then the home prices are still low and you'll have equity. So this is all achievable using these 0% business credit. Okay, but don't go and attack $1 million house in California. They're even 5%, there's you're getting credit cards at $50,000. So how the heck do you buy a house that's, $500,000? Yes, it's scary to go out of state, but you need to get creative. I haven't seen any of my houses until just recently. I went to Indiana. I bought houses sight unseen, but I have boots on the ground, and you have to be a little bit of a risk taker because, nothing in life, if you don't do it, you don't know, so you
Yeah.
just have to go for it.
Awesome. And so people can contact you about that, right? Like you're in my school community. I have your post, but because I think you said you're offering like some sort of consulting around that, right? To help people with
I mean,
REMs.
I do. I buy, at first when I started, I was looking for partners and all that, but now I say scrap that because I'm the one who usually does all the work anyway. So
Right.
my consulting, I feel like I'm not saying it's better. It's not better than David because David gets you the funding, but I actually still look for properties. You can kind of call me like a wholesaler, but a bird dog, but not. I still go look for properties as if I'm gonna buy these, but I can't buy all the properties.
Right.
I have my contractors go look at it, go inside. So I find the actual properties, and then if it's a property I'm willing to buy, I would turn around and step aside and let you buy it. I walk you through the whole process of how to buy it. I connect you with my contractors to renovate it, and then I will take you to the lenders that will do the refinancing. So yes, I charge a consulting fee, but I basically go here, and then once you're done with paying me for the consulting, you actually own a property and it'll be up and running and renovated. So now you actually leave. Not, I'm not teaching you how to do this and I said, good luck, go find your own property. I literally bring you a property and you will have it and own it in your name
Mhm.
with that consulting fee, if that makes sense, right?
No,
So
yeah,
you,
absolutely. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I appreciate you adding that in as like a last thought for people because there are people that join the group and they're interested in real estate investing and they may or may not have an idea of what to do or they have an idea. They just need the actual vehicle. And so I don't know how long it'll be something that Jennifer will be doing, right? But at least for now, if you're interested, just contact Jennifer directly, or you can message me in the school group, right? And yeah, I appreciate you, Jennifer, for hopping on, adding all that. And
no, you're
yeah,
welcome.
no,
So
absolutely.
I share David with all my clients, and now he's doing it for me because, we all kind of need each other. You think about it, you can't do anything on your own. And as put the good vibes out there because I think that's what's happening. I met David, and now I met someone else who I'm partnering with, who's my another exit strategy. I'm gonna plug that in there. We're now doing sober living because I just found out that doubles my income from midterm rentals. So sometimes it's not about buying more, but it's figuring out how to extract more money from the asset you do have. Our conversation right now is what do you do with this funding after you get it? So that's why David has me on here, but
Yeah.
I'm on here to also explain that, we don't always need more. We just need to, what we have, think about how do we get it to be better, right?
Yeah,
So,
you know a good analogy. I tell people like at this point I'm collecting the Infinity Stones, right? You know
mm,
how Thanos had his Infinity
hmm
Stones except for evil. But that imagine that, but in my own world for positivity, right? So there's all specific partners and specific alliances that I've made that's gonna just allow me to do what I want to do and also
hmm
help others in the process. So I completely agree with you on that. And yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, you gotta just plug in the pieces and but just, always be positive and try. You can't fail if you don't try, right? And I think some people get stuck. I don't want to fail, I don't want to fail, but you're gonna fail. I have to say, I hate to say this, but when you're younger, you don't know, and then you make a mistake, and that's just life. It's okay, But again, if you're just starting out, just start out small, so it's not so bad. And I'm even though I'm where I'm at right now, I still team up with other people because there's things I don't know either. So it's okay to admit you don't know and pay someone else for their time. I'm always been someone who shares all my knowledge with people. And then I was like, hey, how come I don't get anything back? But that's okay. If you're the person who shares, you will get something back. But again, pay people for their time, don't be just a taker and not a giver. Add something else back for them, and um, that's what I did with David. And I think he sees it too, because it's not just what I saw in David. I think David, you saw something in me as well as we were talking. I'm fair. I want to pay David. He deserves it for his time. But then I also say, hey, can I get some kind of discount or can I throw more referrals your way? What can I do? I want you to make more money as well, right? So maybe you can plug in because everybody it's reciprocal, you know what I mean? So people want to work with people they like,
Yeah.
I guess.
No, I agree. I agree. And yeah, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
So reach out and make an appointment with David, get the funding, then come back over to me.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.